In September 1679, the first European ship to sail the Great Lakes simply vanished. No wreckage. No survivors. Only an eternal mystery. The Great Lakes, vast, cold, and utterly unforgiving. These inland seas cover nearly 100,000 square miles, holding more than 20% of the world's freshwater. They form a realm of endless horizon, hidden secrets, and countless swallowed vessels. Deep within these freezing depths, whole chapters of history can vanish without leaving behind a single trace. Her name was Le Griffon, the Griffon. Named after the mythical creature boasting the body of a lion and the wings of an eagle, she was meant to symbolize absolute dominion over land and sky. But to those who knew the unpredictable temper of these waters, a beast born of myth was a dangerous thing to launch into the unknown. The mastermind behind this bold endeavor was René-Robert Cavelier, Sieur de La Salle. Ambitious, relentless, and fiercely stubborn, La Salle was a French explorer who envisioned a vast trade empire stretching across North America. He didn't just want to explore the wilderness, he wanted to conquer its immense economy through the lucrative fur trade. Like many visionaries of his era, La Salle was obsessed with finding a shortcut to Asia, the mythical Northwest Passage. He believed that by building a fleet of large sailing vessels, he could dominate the Great Lakes, navigate down the Mississippi River, and unlock unprecedented wealth for the King of France. To the native nations who had lived along these shores for millennia, the Great Lakes were not a barrier to be conquered, but a sacred, living ecosystem. They navigated these waters in light, agile canoes. When La Salle announced his plan to launch a massive, timbered monster upon the lakes, local elders warned him of disaster. Near the roaring precipice of Niagara Falls, deep in hostile territory, the impossible task began. In the harsh winter of 1679, La Salle's crew set up a primitive shipyard along Cayuga Creek. Iron anchors, heavy rigging, and cannons had to be dragged by hand through miles of frozen wilderness from Lake Ontario. Every plank of green-white oak was hand-hewn under constant threat of attack from hostile Iroquois warriors. When completed, Le Griffon was a marvel of naval architecture for the frontier. Armed with 7 small brass cannons and measuring around 45 feet in length, she was a 45-ton bark designed to carry massive payloads across inland waters. To the native onlookers, she looked like a floating wooden fortress. As cannons roared and a Te Deum was sung, Le Griffon slid gracefully into the Niagara River. Yet, dark rumors accompanied her launch. According to local legend, an Iroquois prophet cursed the vessel, foretelling that the ship would be swallowed by the lakes and its crew consumed by dark waters. La Salle dismissed these warnings as mere superstition, entirely focused on the enormous wealth waiting in the west. On August 7, 1679, Le Griffon caught the wind and set sail across Lake Erie. For La Salle and his crew of 34 men, including the famed chronicler Father Louis Hennepin, it was a moment of absolute triumph. They were gliding across waters where no European keel had ever sliced before. Navigating up the Detroit River and across the uncharted expanse of Lake Huron, the voyage was an extraordinary success. The crew marveled at the pristine wilderness, abundant game, and vast open water. Le Griffon was proving to be everything La Salle had dreamed, stable, reliable, and swift. Suddenly, a furious gale battered the vessel in Saginaw Bay, forcing even the hardened crew to pray for mercy. Surviving the tempest, the ship arrived at the fur-trading outpost of Michilimackinac. Here, the sight of the giant vessel caused a sensation among both French traders and indigenous residents. La Salle put on a grand show of authority, firing the ship's cannons to assert French dominance in the region. By late summer, Le Griffon reached Washington Island at the mouth of Green Bay, Lake Michigan. This was the rendezvous point where La Salle's advance agents had gathered a massive fortune in beaver pelts. The ship's holds were packed full of high-grade furs, worth a literal king's ransom. Facing mounting debts back in Montreal, La Salle made a fateful choice. He ordered Le Griffon to sail back to Niagara loaded with the pelts, under the command of his trusted pilot, Luc, and 5 veteran crewmen. La Salle himself would stay behind to explore the Illinois country on foot. On September 18, 1679, Le Griffon weighed anchor and raised her sails. As the ship unfurled her canvas and fired a parting salute, she drifted into the lake's morning haze. It was the last time any European would ever see the ship or her crew alive. Just hours after her departure, a roaring, monstrous autumn storm descended upon Lake Michigan. Weeks turned into months, but Le Griffon never arrived at Niagara. La Salle waited anxiously at Fort Miami, sending scouts along the coastlines to search for news. No wreckage was found, no bodies washed ashore, and no smoke signals rose from distant islands. The ship had simply vanished. What happened to Le Griffon? The most common explanation is that she succumbed to the vicious storm that struck the night she sailed. The Great Lakes are notorious for creating sudden, violent steep waves that can easily capsize even modern vessels, let alone a pioneer wooden ship. La Salle himself suspected foul play. He believed his pilot, Luc, and the crew had mutinied, scuttled the ship, stolen the valuable cargo of furs, and fled into the wilderness to trade independently. Years later, rumors persisted that a giant Danish pilot matching Luc's description was seen living among Western tribes. Another popular theory suggests local native tribes boarded the vessel while she was anchored off an island, wiped out the crew, and set her ablaze to prevent European dominance over their trade routes. Yet, no oral histories conclusively confirmed taking down the legendary ship. Soon, sailors began reporting sightings of a phantom vessel sailing silently through autumn mists, the ghost of Le Griffon. As decades turned into centuries, Le Griffon became known as the Holy Grail of Great Lakes shipwrecks. Because she was the very first ship to sink in these waters, finding her remains became the ultimate prize for maritime historians, treasure hunters, and underwater archaeologists alike. Over the years, dozens of claims emerged. In the 1930s, old timbers and human skeletons were discovered near the Mississauga Strait on Manitoulin Island. Lab tests later showed the wood was old enough, but construction details didn't quite match La Salle's legendary bark. In the 1950s, another wreck was found near Tobermory, Ontario. Local divers were convinced they had finally found the lost ship. However, subsequent testing revealed iron fasteners that belonged to a much later 19th century schooner. Once again, the Griffon slipped away. Equipped with advanced side-scan sonar and magnetometers, modern explorers pushed deeper into uncharted depths. In 2001, veteran diver Steve Libert discovered a wooden beam sticking out of the mud near Poverty Island in Lake Michigan. He was convinced it was the bowsprit of Le Griffon. Years of legal battles with the state of Michigan and the French government followed before testing could take place. In 2013, French scientists and American archaeologists finally excavated the site. To their disappointment, the wooden stake proved to be an old navigation stake or fishing structure rather than the hull of a ship. The lake had teased searchers once again. Then, in early 2022, wreck hunters Steve and Kathy St. Amour announced a shocking discovery. Using advanced sonar, they located a pristine 17th century wreck near Lake Michigan's Green Bay area, fitting the exact dimensions and age profile of Le Griffon. The target site showed distinct architectural features unique to 1600s French shipbuilding, hand-carved trunnels, heavy oak framing, and a lack of modern metal fasteners. Even more compelling was its location, right along the expected escape route the ship would have taken during a storm. Divers descended into the freezing, pitch-black water to inspect the mysterious wreck up close. Despite encouraging signs, official verification takes time. Carbon dating, timber sampling, and federal preservation laws require years of delicate study. Is this finally the elusive vessel of La Salle, or merely another forgotten ghost of the Great Lakes? Le Griffon was only the first. In the 3 centuries following her disappearance, an estimated 6,000 ships have met their doom upon the Great Lakes, claiming more than 30,000 lives. These waters are a vast, cold graveyard frozen in time. Because the freshwater of the Great Lakes lacks wood-boring worms and saltwater corrosion, wreck sites are preserved in extraordinary detail. Ships that sank centuries ago still stand upright on the lake floor, their masts intact, waiting quietly in pitch darkness. For La Salle, the loss of Le Griffon was a devastating financial blow, but it didn't break his spirit. He went on to explore the entire length of the Mississippi River, claiming the vast Louisiana territory for France before meeting his own tragic end in the wilds of Texas. Why does the story of Le Griffon continue to captivate our imagination after nearly 350 years? Perhaps it's because she represents human ambition pushing beyond the boundary of the known world, a bold symbol of adventure swallowed by nature's immense power. Though centuries have passed, the lakes retain their raw power, guarding their ancient secrets with fierce storms. Somewhere beneath the rolling waves of Lake Michigan or Lake Huron, nestled in deep silt and cold shadows, lies the true resting place of Le Griffon. She rests alongside 7 cannons, a fortune in furs, and 6 souls who dared to conquer the inland sea. Whether the recent discovery proves to be La Salle's lost bark or just another chapter in the search, the legend lives on. Until definitive proof emerges, North America's greatest maritime mystery remains unsolved, buried beneath cold, endless water. The lakes give up their secrets slowly, one wreck at a time. But until the Griffon rises from the deep, her voyage continues, eternally sailing through the fog of history, forever lost, and never forgotten.